Hello, everyone, and welcome to KSO Front Row, the Kamloops Symphony's web series that brings you up close to us right from your very own home or wherever you may be watching this. My name is Daniel Mills, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kamloops Symphony. Of course, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm presently speaking from Kamloops to Secwepemc within Secwepemc-Ulu, the unceded traditional lands of the Secwepemc peoples. We wish to honor the traditional stewards of these beautiful lands and the stewards of all the lands on which we are gathered here tonight on this session and show respect for their vibrant cultures that live on today. Before I introduce you to the guests of today's session, I do want to offer a few thank yous. Of course, we wanted to thank our public funders, the Canada Council for the Arts and Government of Canada, the BC Arts Council and Government of British Columbia, and of course, the City of Kamloops and City of Salmon Arm for their continued support. As well, thank you to all our donors, sponsors, volunteers who have been so generous to our organization. All of you are helping ensure we're here continuing to provide relevant and engaging programming for the community. If you are tuning in today's session, you're most likely aware of the last of our 3 upcoming concert productions. Of course, tonight's guest is our featured soloist on Beethoven Tabla, taking place on April 23rd. In this concert, Gabriel Dionne will be playing Dina Gilbert's Tabla Concerto, which will be paired with one of the great classics, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. But before that, we also have Luminous Voices coming up on 2 days' time, this Saturday, April 16th at Oasis Church. And this will feature Fauré's beautiful Requiem and the KSO chorus. And next Thursday, April 21st, we are thrilled to have our rescheduled presentation of Isque and the KSO in the Sagebrush Theater. For this evocative performance, we'll be collaborating with Cree Métis artist Isque, and she'll be singing her original songs with lush orchestral arrangements performed by our very own orchestra. So if you are interested in joining us for any or all 3 of these incredible performances, please do get your tickets today from the Kamloops Live box office. More details can be found on our website. So today's session is meant to be interactive, so if you are watching it live, we welcome you to submit your own questions in the live chat feature on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll try to get to them as we go or during our dedicated question and answer session at the end. Thanks again, of course, to my colleague Ryan, who's editing this on the go behind the scenes and ensuring it runs so smoothly. So today's session, of course, features 2 guests in real time and a special guest through pre-recorded segments, and more on that later. But the first, of course, is no stranger to you, our one and only music director, Dina Gilbert. We're so grateful to have her. Welcome, Dina.
Hello, Daniel.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Of course, we're sad you won't be able to join us this upcoming week and weeks for our concerts, but it's so great to see you, and I think all our patrons are probably very excited to hear from you today. So
yeah, I'd like to be there in this presence then up to the moment I'll be able to be back in Kamloops for sure. Yes.
And how are things in Montreal today?
Rainy. So I hope that there will be some great weather for Gabriel when he will first come to Kamloops to visit. Yeah. Hopefully.
Cross our fingers with that. And speaking of that, of course, our second guest today and our guest artist for our upcoming performance of Dina Gilbert's Tabla Concerto, featured again on Beethoven Tabla, and that is Gabriel Dionne. And before I welcome to the screen, I'll share a few words about him. So originally from Montjoly, Quebec, Gabriel is an accomplished percussionist in many different genres. He obtained a first prize in percussion from the Conservatoire de Musique de Rimouski and a master's degree from the Shepherd School of Music at Rice University in Houston. He's currently the principal timpanist with l'Orchestre Symphonique de l'Estuaire, where Dina met him during her tenure as music director. Gabriel is also the percussion faculty member at the Conservatoire de Musique de Rimouski. He first started studying tabla in 1992, which has led to several exciting performance and educational opportunities. And I'm not going to go too much detail into those because you'll be hearing a lot about it today, but rest assured it's very exciting and very, very interesting. But however, in addition to his experience as both a Western classical and Indian classical percussionist, Gabriel is well-versed in jazz and has extensive experience on both drum set and jazz vibraphone. So we're so thrilled to have him joining us next week for our concert and tonight on this session. So without further ado, please welcome Gabriel Dionne.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Dina.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I must say that I'm extremely pleased and to be part of this front row sessions, and it's a real honor to take part of that.
Well, yes, well, thank you so much. I'm sure all our audience members are going to be very interested to know more about your instrument and your background and hear what you have to say. So but I won't go again too much into that. So, and I will say before I leave the screen, in addition to having Gabriel here in real time, we do have another guest joining us through several pre-recorded segments, and that would be Gabriel's mentor all the way from Mumbai, India. And when it comes time in the session, I will let them to talk about this special guest and how he's involved here. So, but that's enough from me. I'm going to leave you to have your conversation as I run off to a chorus rehearsal for our concert this weekend. But I know I look forward to hearing all about this conversation later on. So thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Hello, Gabriel.
Hi, Dina.
Thanks so much for being there. And actually, like Daniel mentioned, we have the pleasure, thanks to your contact, to have also Ojas with us tonight. So before hearing from him a little bit, I wanted to introduce him a little bit. So Ojas Adiya is from India, and we've been lucky enough to have his presence tonight at this KSO front row. Just to tell you how impressive his bio is, he has been mentioned in the Limca Book of Records as the youngest tabla player of all India. Ojas' mission is to give his excellence in performance and has an esteem to be second to none in the field of Indian classical and light music. He recently recorded the Tabla Symphony, which is a project similar to what you'll be hearing next week with the KSO, a project which combined tabla with a symphony orchestra. I won't mention too much more since we'll get to learn more about him all evening long, but in short, he's been playing and touring with incredible musicians all around the world, and he also became Gabriel Dionne's teacher a few years ago. We'll get to learn more about the circumstances of this incredible meeting, let's say. So here is a little chat of Ojas' introduction, now in video, thanks to Ryan.
Hello everyone, I am Ojas Adiya. I am a tabla player. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Kamloops Symphony and Miss Dina for inviting me here at KSO front row.
Wow.
So, Gabriel, you're senior mentor now. So can you imagine Rimouski, Montreal, Kamloops, and then Mumbai? I guess you recognize a little bit the setup of your teacher, I guess?
Not at all.
Wow.
I've never seen this background ever. Yeah, actually, he has two houses. I don't go into details, but the background is very different. I mean, he's probably standing in a corner somewhere, but when we have lessons together or meetings, he's behind the tabla. So it's actually, I mean, everything was new to me except Ojas.
So you'd be having more surprises than Gabriel, because I mean, as we're going to discover all night long, music can cross borders, obviously, and music is universal, it's for everyone. But actually, through the videos and the question I asked Ojas, I got to learn a little bit that you have a special nickname, Gabriel Pie.
Oh, bye. Yeah,
exactly. So let's hear a little bit, Ojas, about how we find you as a musician. Let's hear it.
What should I say about a very, very dear friend of mine, like an elder brother to me, a thorough gentleman and a true musician himself, Gabriel Bhai. I call him Bhai, which means a brother here in India. So I call him Gabriel Bhai, not just because I love him, but also because he's such an inspiration, and I respect him as a musician. So I first met him online, of course, because I think a year, 2 years back, I guess, I had online I had shared about my personal online tabla sessions which I was going to conduct, and somehow he got to know about it, and he just sent me a mail saying that he would like to take some sessions from me. So I found that really interesting, and I readily and willingly, I was really happy to know about him, and to know that he's such a wonderful musician himself. So I thought that way I will be in touch with him, and he had already learned tabla before, and he has some great knowledge of tabla. And I just don't share my knowledge with him, but he also shares his knowledge of tabla with me, and that really inspires me. And at the same time, I also learn a lot of things from him. So, you know, he's been doing so well, and I'm really happy as a musician. Uh, the amount of work and the creativity uh, he has towards tabla, the understanding he has towards tabla is amazing, and I really like his passion. I really love his dedication, and yeah, I don't have much to say about him. He is amazing, and I'm really happy to be associated with Gabriel Bhai. All my love to dear Gabriel Bhai.
Wow. Ooh, I'm touched. Oh,
Yeah.
just, oh, just. I mean, you have to know that "by" is a suffix. You know, this is something you add to a name when it, you get familiar to, like brother, like he said. Of course, it didn't start this way. It started, oh, just G. G means sir. You know, there's a form of respect, and we've met. I mean, we've met for basically a year and a half most every week, maybe 2 years. It'll be, when did we start? In May. It's like 2 years now. And
Through the pandemic, right?
haven't
It
seen
was
him, I haven't seen him in like a month and a half now, but, we've met every Friday morning at 8:30 Quebec time, which
and I
was,
even had the pleasure to attend one of your class and lesson
yes,
probably
that's
a year,
right. Oh, I
more than
forgot
a year
about that.
ago. Yes,
Yes, actually, before the concerto, before the performance in Rimouski.
exactly. Yeah.
And so I was saying that, at the beginning, I would say, or just G, and, very respectful. And he would call me also Gabriel G or G. And all of a sudden, we got into laughs, and week after week, we get to know each other. And at the end of a session, he said, I'm going to call you Bye.
Wow.
And I said, I cannot call you Bye, you know, because if you say bye to someone, the other person has the same sort of. And he said, sure, there's really, no problem with that. So it took me a while to accept the fact that, I called him Otis Bye, because he is just an amazing musician. Mm, and I took the time to pronounce every syllable of what I'm saying, because he is just amazing. And people that know tabla and don't know Ojas Adia, please go check him out. He is just unbelievable. Such a great musician. And I mean, to have him speak like this is just showing how great he is.
And humble. And I would say that this is the same thing I've been always witnessing to you with you. Um, for me, how when I was hearing him, I was resonating so much with the qualities he was mentioning about you, the passion, the dedication, but also I guess that closeness. I mean, he's telling you that he's your older, I mean, the older brother, something like this. But for me, when I first arrived in Rimouski with the Orchestre Symphony de l'Estuaire, I also felt the fact that you're welcoming everybody as if it's friends and family. And this is an incredible quality that I find is then makes it possible to create even better music, right? So I
Yeah.
always had a lot of admiration for you being that humble with that many broad knowledge and always being grounded through real things, and being receptive to the environment. And I could feel with Ojas that he has that same feeling about you. And I found that incredible that like this personality of you shines everywhere for sure. Yes.
Well,
So,
I mean, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to. This is actually a phrase from Ojas because oftentimes I compliment his playing. I've watched what you've just put on YouTube, and I mean, how did you play this phrase? And we get into details, and he always has the same answer, and he says, "Oh, God is kind. God is
wow.
kind."
Wow. So I'm just sharing my gifts, and that's
Mm,
it. I'm the conduit of something
right,
bigger than me. Or
right.
something. Wow, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
he's such a sweet guy.
So of course, before being a master of tabla, there was the young
I'm
Gabriel.
far from being a master.
So you,
Tabla. I mean, I started like 30 years ago, but it's not my culture. So I started 30 years ago, but I mean, way far behind everything. I mean, and to master this instrument, I think it takes more than one life.
Mhm.
So I'm
that's
not gonna
maybe
stop on this one.
that's maybe
I'll
what
keep
happened
going.
then. Ojas in other life probably had learned it all because he started super young and been
Could
that
be.
musician prodigy
Yeah.
for sure. So then, Gabriel, though, even I mean, you were maybe predestined to become a musician because it looks like in your family tree there was a little bit of music even before you were born. So we have a picture because we've been asking you to look
Yeah.
at different things. And could you tell us about this beautiful picture we see here?
Yeah, well, I'm not in this picture.
We
It's
hope
my
not.
mother. It's my mother with her father. So my grandfather was playing fiddling, and my mom was accompanying him on the guitar. I've never heard them play together, but I can by this picture, I get the feel that they had joy playing together. It must have been a Sunday
Yeah, it's beautiful and
because
see
they're
and watching
well
all the
dressed and
kids behind,
yeah,
kind of like watching or probably watching quietly the performance that was there. It
yeah,
looks a really
yeah.
exciting
So
story there.
music was in the family in both sides. My mom and my dad's, and not really like educated musically. Like in schools and stuff. But the music was really part of our family,
And
and
it's through your sister that like you first then had an interest.
yeah, my sister brought percussion. I mean, she brought the first drum into the house. I was like 7 or 8 or something like this, and she was playing with the majorette. And she was actually the drum leader of this band, and she would bring the drum weekends and practice and play stuff. And she would compose some beats and grooves, and I would learn them as well as her.
By
And
mimicking.
as
So
as
then,
soon as I could join a band to play this kind of drumming, I did. So I entered the cadets at age 12 or something like this, and my goal was to play in the fanfare. And playing drum. Oh, there we go. Uh, I can. Yeah, I'm on the far right.
so
The
playing
little
snare.
blonde guy and behind. So this brings me back some memory. You can see in this picture that it's not a big fanfare.
You were not that many, no what? Like
No, no, I think I no, really not. But we've had fun, and this was thrilling, and this is my music background. At this age, and through the cadets, I did some theory. This was my school in summer camps, musical summer camps, and it's all started there. This is my background.
and I think we had another picture of you then at
Oh,
the
then it's a
front of the
few
crowd.
years after, a few years after. Then again, I got the band leader, so I was conducting the band, making some arrangements, and teaching the drums and stuff. So yeah, this is
I mean, I can.
you can see, the fanfare had grown a little bit, and but the city in the back, there's not many houses there. It's a small city, Montjoly.
Yeah, can you tell for people how much people? What is the population in
How
Montjoly?
many? At the time, it was like around 9,000.
Only. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So 9,000. And I mean, I can relate with all those activities since I've also been in the art cadets, ironing my things, shining my boots and everything. But
Yeah.
as I was mentioning, discussing the preparation of this KSO front row with you, for me, I don't much recall all these things or their theory classes about
Yeah.
aviation. I just have more great memories about all different kinds of people, friends that I was not necessarily in class with,
Definitely.
but were exposed to then many different free activities such as music, getting and being able to have an instrument for free to rehearse, and those summer camp in which I started to self-conduct, and self-taught conducting and so on. It's been great experience and great first step into the music world, I guess, until other things. Now I would like to jump maybe into another video of Ojas, because he had another kind of a start that is quite special, and we want to hear a little bit about this.
I was born in a non-musical family, and my father was a doctor and my mother is a housewife, and we used to live in a very small town in Maharashtra state in India called Akot. So my parents used to take me to our spiritual teachers chanting and meditation center. Spiritual teachers are Swami Muktanandji and Swami Chidvilasanandji's chanting and meditation center in Akot. So one fine day, my mother told me this story that soon after the chanting got over, I was sleeping on her lap, and after the chanting was over, I crawled upon my knees and I straight went to the tablas, and I started banging them. I started playing with tablas. That's when my father realized that, this guy is really interested in playing tablas. But I was very young. I was barely 6 months old then, and we kept continuing going to the center, and that music was continuously in my ears, in my mind. And one fine day, I turned 2 years old, and I just started playing a traditional tala in Indian classical music, which is called keherwa, which is 8-beat rhythmic cycle. So I started playing tal keherwa, and that's when my father got surprised, and he was like, oh, he's playing tal keherwa, and that too without learning from anybody. And this made my father really he was really surprised, and he made sure that I took some basic knowledge of talas from a local teacher in Akot. And that's when I gave my first public performance at the age of 4. And after that, my name was recorded in the Limca Book of World Records as the youngest tabla player of India.
So I can imagine a baby crawling to the tabla and then starting playing different rhythms and patterns that are really highly recognizable. And you've been sharing with me a video in which is maybe a few how old is he? And he's
I don't know,
in a
7,
TV
8.
show, and he's playing tabla, and it looks like it's been whatever, like 45 years he's already playing this. Is it slow? Easy. It looks easy and fluent, and he's smiling,
Yeah.
and it's a game.
I was curious of this composition he was playing, and I've asked him. He showed it to me, and I can't play it. The the speed he's playing it. And he was 8.
You know, there's something
I've been
special
playing
there.
tabla for 30 years. I mean, it just shows the ability of this amazing musician.
And it shows
So,
also about how important it is for someone to detect that talents and nurture it.
mm,
Could you imagine like his father not witnessing this and not taking care of it? And I feel that all of us musicians who are here doing this career now, thanks to those meeting and important people we met through our journey. And that after that, since we've been helped that way, we want to do the same thing with other people. It looks like the way it works out. And you told me actually that you also felt that you were always at the right place at the right moment,
yep,
which brought you here. I also had that kind of feeling of stars sometimes are aligned, so the right
yeah.
people arrive on your route at the right moment, maybe.
Mm-mm.
So I mean, after the cadets, that was one thing, but then major things, major transformation arrived for you to consider a more complex, I guess,
Yeah,
vision of what it would be to be a percussionist.
yeah. I've heard about the conservatoire, which was pretty new at the time. The conservatoire started in 76, 74, 75, something like this, and I entered in 80. So it was not an old school. So I've heard of this, and I did an audition, and I got accepted. So I entered not at a young age at the conservatoire. So, um, but it opened a total different world of percussion that I didn't know of. The fanfare with the cadets, all the percussion, the marching bands and stuff. I was familiar too. I had a drum set. I could play pop. I have bands and stuff, but classical percussion, timpani, tam tam. What is a tam tam?
Yeah, what is a tam tam? Good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, I said tam tam, but it's really the instrument that got me really, intrigued. Like, what? I mean, how is this possible to have this sound with this plate of metal? All the harmonics and the richness of the resonance and all the other instruments, of course. But entering the conservatoire to me was like a world of opportunity. And the first year of my study there, my teacher was not the teacher of the conservatoire. It was like the percussionist that just finished his studies, and he had only one student, and it was me.
Wow.
So I was really precious to him. He was taking care of me, and I was so. I mean, I'm saying it very humbling. I mean, like honest, in an honest way. I was a really good student. I was practicing a lot. I was ready for my lessons, and he would enter the room, and the mallets were on the instrument. The music was on the stands, and I did my routines, and so we've had actually a really good year together. And his name is Michel Garon, and I still see him a few times a year, and it's always a pleasure. So I was blessed to have him, not because the other teacher was not good. It's just simply that I was special for him, and he was special for me. I mean, he was my model. He was someone that finished the school. And it was something special.
And then, I mean, after years of conservatoire at the Conservatoire de Rimouski, then you've been going to the States. But I
Yeah.
recall for me, as in being both, that like my English, I needed to work on it many, many years before now I could speak it that way. How was it for you to then apply to different universities in the United States? And what was the experience like for you back then?
This was insane because I didn't speak English, but I was attracted to the States. And my teacher at the Conservatoire, Carole Lemieux, encouraged me to do this. Said, "Why not you write a letter?" And so we got a list of schools, famous schools in the States, and I've sent a letter, asking information, tuitions and fees, and how would I apply. and I received all the answers. And when I saw the amount of money they were asking to study there, I said, "Oh my God, this is not for me." I didn't have any money to go there. I mean, the tuitions or fees were astronomical at the time. Now they're beyond astronomical. And so, I said, I'll find something else, but for right now, this is not going to happen. I don't have the money. And all of a sudden, the phone rang at the conservatoire, and it was for me. And a teacher in the States found the number of the school, phone number, and called to speak to me. And so the secretary comes and says, "Oh, well, Gabriel, there's a phone for you. Are you okay in English?" And I said, I don't speak English at all." And I was fortunate enough. This secretary spoke very well English, so she translated to me, and it was a teacher from Rice University, Richard Brown, that called and were interested in knowing me. He said, "Send a cassette of your playing, and it'll
Back in the
be."
days, that was the thing, huh? No,
Yeah, I guess.
send the clip, it's send the tape.
It was really a
Yeah,
little cassette.
yeah.
I bought a TDK gold, platinum, whatever, to have the best quality. And this was a technology at the time. And I actually played the recital that I just played, recorded it with good microphones, put it in an envelope, sent it to him. And he's listened to it and called back a few weeks after. I don't remember how many days, but whatever. And he said, "Well, if you want to come, I would be pleased to take you, and apply to all the grants you can, and we'll waive the rest." So I've applied to the Conseil des Arts, concert Council of the Art, and FCAR at the time also. FCR. Anyway, so I got some money to live there, and the school paid for all my tuitions, all the
And
fees. I mean, everything was free.
and from that experience on to what you've been mentioning to me yesterday, you were taking every opportunity to play in different opportunities,
Well, of
bands,
course. I
and so
mean, I
on.
was I was there to play. So I came in again. I came in at the right spot at the right moment. I mean, I got first sub at HSO. I played with Houston Grand Opera. I did a tour with TOT, Texas Opera Theater. I was playing a lot. I was part of a percussion quartet, continuum percussion quartet, and we've recorded on the label New World Record, and a great experience. And it always, I feel like everything always felt into places.
Mhm.
I've never, I have the feeling I've never took any decision in my life.
Wow. The path was just like, I
Yeah,
mean, just
it's
noticing the opportunities, right? And
yeah,
taking
it's
them.
like the water. It's going and it's falling, and it gets its path. You know.
And through that river, we have a few pictures then of opportunities
Hmm.
that might have been transformative for you. Um,
Oh,
so, for
okay.
example, this one.
Okay. Well, these are, when I was in the States, I was like for 4 years in the States. I mean, off and on because I've been touring Europe also, but in the States, I did some summer camp. I did the Grand Tetons in Wyoming, and I did also LA Institute. So this was in Los Angeles. Those that those people that have been in Los Angeles may recognize the Hollywood Bowl. This is really not a good picture, but it was my camera, and I took this picture because I was impressive. That it's the Hollywood Bowl, where the Beatles played actually, and the LA Institute was an orchestral institute, and we played concert there. This is obviously not a concert of us, but we played under the ball, and actually, the last concert we played there was a big concert. We played also Spra Zarathustra. I was playing timpani in this. This is a trill.
This is a major part. This
Trill,
is like
trill.
something to do once in your life. And I mean, doing it there is quite impressive.
And it's quite a cliche, I mean, when you talk about timpani, you say, okay, well, this is boo, 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 boo. So anyway, I played that there, and it was conducted by Zubin Mehta,
Wow.
and it was a double orchestra. It was LA Philharmonic and LA Institute, so everything was doubled. And we played Mahler first on this concert also. I was playing cymbal, and to synchronize cymbal playing,
With
uh,
someone
and
else?
yeah, it was quite a thrill.
Yeah. Wow. Those were the days in which we could share the stage with that many people and really not in a pandemic, obviously. Having a double size orchestra on a stage. Wow. That must have been
Yeah, and my
incredible.
back was really like touching the far end of the scene. I mean, the
So
whole thing was
it's
full of
impressive just that there
musicians.
was no accident actually by crashing the cymbals, probably. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you've been also traveling, as you mentioned. You've been traveling a little bit, and we have other pictures that in which we see
Oh,
you really smiling.
yeah. This was my birthday. It was my birthday. Well, I kind of record that. I mean, I recall that. And this is in Leningrad, St. Petersburg now, and we can see the Hermitage in the back. And we played there for 3 days, off and on in different situations. But this tour, it was a really strange tour. It's called the AWWO. I'm not sure it exists anymore. I doubt it. It was the American Waterways Wind Orchestra. So it was a wind ensemble. Percussions were in front, and there were two Japanese guys. I mean, one guy, Masatoshi Kainuma. His name was stuck in my head, and we got to connect on Facebook a few months ago. Masatoshi Kainuma, who's a great percussionist, and I don't remember the other person. Anyhow, the percussionists were in front, and the woodwinds would be sitting in chairs up high behind us, and we'd play it on water. It was like a barge converted into a scene. So we'd play in, like in the quay. How do we say this?
So the key, I won't find the word. Sorry, I won't be
Well,
able to help you.
people were not in the water,
Mhm.
in the front of the water, and we'd play like on the barge. And we played
Aha.
in great cities. I mean, we did 11 countries, all from Ireland to Russia, east west, and Oslo to France. I mean, this whole northern European tour.
And we have another picture in which then you'd be joining with a Russian musician on
Okay,
stage. That's a
this
special
is
picture right now. Yeah.
yeah, this is at the same time. This was in Leningrad, and you can see the a Russian band on the right, and us, the AWWO on the left. And I gave you this picture because the actual context is a little. Um, uh, I'm speechless, but I see this and I just can't believe what's happening right now.
Yes, for sure. So all these different experience has been for sure nurtured your career, going from Montjoli, Rimouski, then opening the horizons. And we have a little bit of video in which Ojas mentioned how for him moving from a small city to Mumbai, a place with more opportunity, really also changed his life.
Here in Mumbai, there are these very popular and famous music directors in Bollywood music. They are Padma Shri Kalyanji Bhai and Padma Shri Anandji Bhai, who are very, very well known music directors in Mumbai. They somehow got to know that there is this boy, 4-year-old kid who's playing tabla, and he played tabla at a very young age, at the age of 4, and his name is recorded in Limca Book of World Records and so on and on. So he invited us to meet him. So my father and myself, we came to meet him in Mumbai, and he heard me live, and he was so happy, and he was full of blessings. Kalyanji Bhai, who's a music director, he was full of blessings, and he advised my father that his future is in Mumbai. That means my future is in Mumbai, and he told my father that if you want to make him, a successful tabla player or a successful musician, you must come to Mumbai. And that's when my father decided that we shift to Mumbai, and my future was in Mumbai. So my father took this decision of coming to Mumbai, and we all shifted with my family to Mumbai in 1993, and that's how it started. And I needed a proper professional guru, teacher for tabla, and that's when the music director Shri Kalyanji Bhai, he introduced me to his bosom friend Shri Mridangaraji, who is my guru, who is my teacher since when I was 5 years old. He started teaching me, and he readily and willingly accepted me as his disciple, and since then I have been learning from him, and that's how the journey started.
So every time I'm stunned about these kind of precise moment in which, there's a turning point and everything changed. I found that really generous of his father to, take even his practice as doctor to change city because
Yep.
one of his son is gifted, and then therefore, and I found that kind of I don't know, or almost oracle kind of your future in Mumbai was something special in this journey.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, yeah.
And for
My
you,
teacher was in Rimouski.
yeah, your teacher was in Rimouski, but then you met someone who's been, your contact with Tabla was with Bob Becker,
Yes.
which then transformed your way and add
Oh,
an addition to, I guess, a new love at first sight instrument.
oh, definitely. This was my first encounter with tabla. It's because of Bob Becker. I was studying at Rice at the Shepherd School in Houston, and Nexus, a percussion ensemble in which Bob Becker is part of, came to do a residence for a week or something like this at the school. And each and every player, there were 5, they did a little class on something, timpani, bass drum, orchestral stuff or whatever. And Bob did 2. He did xylophone and tabla. And tabla to me, I didn't know what it was, even the name. So he took these 2 drums out of the bag, and all of a sudden, I saw them, and I said, "Gosh, they're really beautiful." So it was really love at first sight, not even hearing them. I mean, I was just pleased by the shape and, intrigued by the skin and the black dot and everything. So, and Bob did a little, talk about the drums in India and the music and the history and everything. And it took like 20 minutes or something like this, and all of a sudden someone said, "Mr. Becker, could you play something?" And he said, "Of course," as if he was waiting for us to ask him to play. So he started to present the sounds, and that's where I really, really fell in love. I was melting. I could not believe how many sounds would come out from these two little drums sitting, it's just like it doesn't look like anything. And magic happens as soon as his fingers hit the drums. So then I remember saying to myself, one day I will play these drums.
So you know
But
what, Gabrielle? Now I would like to ask the same thing as we are in the KSO front row. Could we now hear you play the tabla?
oh, there's a question in chat. Oh,
I mean,
it's
no, no,
funny.
no, no. I mean that, like, since we have a video that you've been preparing,
Yeah.
and we've been exploring and
Oh,
waiting for that moment, I think now would be the perfect time in which we get to have our Tabla 101 video that you've been preparing for people to hear you and see you in the right setup, because obviously then it would be a little bit difficult to have the chat and then to switch to Tabla. But you've been preparing this nice video they're going to see.
and actually, this setup, just by is seeing me like this. He's every sessions I'm always sitting there, so he will be fitting right home if he sees that.
Yeah. So let's go to this
Welcome
video.
to the wonderful world of tabla. Tabla is a word that literally means drum, and these are from North India. One drum is made out of wood, covered with a system of skin with a black dot that is so specific to tabla. And it's quite a heavy drum because it's really like a plain, it's massive wood, and it's carved inside just about this deep, this way. So it's really a wooden drum, very heavy. This one is, might actually look heavier, but it's a little lighter, and it's made out of metal, and it's totally empty inside, of course. And there is the same kind of system of skin over it, with the black dot off center for this one, so it eliminates some harmonics. What strikes the most when you see a tabla player is that one hand is playing one drum and the other hand is playing the other drum, and it's quite unusual because if you put two drums somewhere and you and you put a percussionist behind, of course you'll use both hands on each, and this would be rather normal, but tabla is really played this way, and it's really easy to explain because these drums are all, they're about 400 years old, but they come from a 2,000 years old instrument called the pagawash, which was made this way. So it's a one-piece drum, wooden drum with a small end and a bigger diameter end on the left. So the player would, of course, play this way, the high pitch on the right and the low pitch on the left. But since this instrument has become, two separate drums, we have, kept this technique of the high pitch to the right and the low pitch to the left. And it actually the sounds are more refined because of they're two separate drums. Another particularity to the tabla is that every sound is related to a vocal sound, which are called bowls, and it's quite intriguing at the beginning. And it's quite confusing because each sound can be, related to a few syllables that are used upon the context of the phrase. And at the beginning, it's really frustrating because it's really confusing, actually. But it's much easier than French, I tell you. So the main sound of the right hand drum is ta, and it's an harmonic. tuned to the drone that we hear from the beginning. It's a D, the D drum. So this is ta. There is na. So the difference between ta and na is in the resonance and the sharpness of the sound. The na is sharper, more attack, less resonance, and the ta is sweeter. So ta na. Tun. So ta na tun. Tete. Tere. So these are the main sound used on the right hand. The left hand has only two kind of sounds. Dry sounds, ki, ke, ka. So the sound that are pronounced with the letter K at the beginning is a dry sound, and gi, ge, or ga, it's a G with an H, and it corresponds to the resonance of the drum. Ge. And we can, with the pressure of the palm, bend the pitch. I mean, have a higher note by pressing the skin. And we can make waves. And that makes the expression of the phrase, actually. So the right hand is the main hand, I would say, and the left hand punctuates the phrase that the right hand is playing. So they're, two, a little bit like the soloist is here and the accompaniment is there, sort of. And of course we can combine both hands. So ta with ge becomes da, which is the main sound of the tabla. And here are some combinations. Dati, dage, dati, dage, tenna, kena, dati, dage, denna, gena, tati, take, tenna, kena, datite, datite, dadatite, dage, tenna, kena. Da, dati, dagena, dati, dage, denna, gena. Dige, denna, trikre, denna. Dagena, tike, tinna, na. Datrike, datrike, tinna, tatrike, tatrike, denna. Tidike, dagedigena, da. Datre dagena dagete nagena datre dagena dagete nagena. So here it is. I'm really looking forward to see you with the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, and it's actually next week. My God, it goes so fast. So hopefully I can meet you over there with the symphony. So take care.
I don't know where the take care comes from.
The take care.
I was speaking to someone, I guess, in my head. I don't know.
And I'm thinking that, like, I mean, listening to it, I was, okay, since I'm speaking that fast, maybe then I would have at least that to be to learn tabla. This ease of pronouncing that fast, this crazy.
Well, actually, I have a you have to have a really precise tongue. It's a play of tongue.
For the
No
dictation.
sounds are made with the lips.
Okay.
There's no labial sound.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And my tongue is especially big, fat, and it's like a big potato. So I'm not known to. I can recite everything, but half the speed.
I guess the
Oh,
wind players, the woodwinds, I mean, since we are using articulation with the tongue, I guess
yep.
helps in that matter. But I'm always impressed hearing those runs like this and just
Yeah,
before playing, I'm like, my God, okay, this is crazy fast and
yep,
impressive. And
it is.
people will be able to hear that in action next week
Yeah,
for sure.
actually, in the concerto, Dina has used that
Yeah.
in a clever way. Yep.
So, Gabriel, you are a really versatile musician, doing many things, having different hats. And we are going to explore in the next 5 minutes or
Yeah.
so those different aspects that you have. One is an incredible duet. I mean, not only I was stunned to see how experienced as a musician you were into Indian music, but you're not alone in Rimouski because you have a friend, Guy Bernier, which played the sitar that we
Yeah.
can see in the upcoming picture
He's a
in which
very
you're
good
being,
friend of mine.
yeah, you've been doing several projects. Can you tell us a little bit about those collaboration together?
Sure. Guy is actually from Quebec,
Okay.
and he's been studying sitar for like 40 years. He started before me. He's been 3 times in India to study the sitar, and you know, he started on guitar and then changes the first letter for an S, and he's a very good friend. I haven't seen him in a while, COVID oblige, but we've been playing quite a lot together. And this was actually in Quebec. This is at the zoo, which does not exist anymore. So we're doing a little mini, concert there. So Guy and
Next
I went to
important,
study at the Ali Akbar College in San Rafael in California. We went there together as a duet, playing studying Indian music.
next important hat, I would say, is, I mean, how proud you must be having a class of percussionists, but also having introduced many students to the tabla in
Yeah.
Rimouski, which brought actually jealousy, even maybe in the tabla world, about how dare you have
Yeah.
such a big class in Rimouski, isn't it?
Maybe not the tabla world,
Yeah.
but the tabla in Quebec.
Yeah,
Yes,
tabla in Quebec must
yes,
be yeah, would be perfectly right.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, this was actually my initiative, but with the School of Music, l'École de musique du Bas-Saint-Laurent, here in Rimouski, who were totally open to open a tabla class. So this is a fairly recent picture. It's like maybe 5 or 6 years, no, maybe 4 years or something like that. But the class has been off and on since 20 years. So yeah, thanks to the School of Music that had the guts to make this happen. And actually, the first year of the school, I took some pictures of our concert, and we're playing with accordions. It was kind of a mix, and I sent this to a friend in Montreal, Sean Mativetsky, who's a really exciting tabla player in Montreal, and he's a good friend of mine. And he said, "Oh my God, you did this in Rimouski. I have to do this in Montreal." So then McGill started a program with Sean.
That's wonderful. So before
Yeah.
going into more of your different hats and projects, we've been having, I mean, I had a question to Ajas about what were his aspirations into becoming a professional musician, and also a little bit of piece of advice, let's say, for any musician. So
Oh,
let's hear a bit about this.
Being a professional tabla player, and I just wanted to pursue music, and my goal was to not just stick to classical music, but I also wanted to play some fusion music. I also wanted to play different genres like ghazals, which is a semi-classical uh, music, and so many other genres, including tabla solo, accompaniment with other instrumentalists, accompaniment with vocalist, and of course fusion, as I said. So I just kept learning, and I just thought of exploring it more from my side. And I felt that whatever concerts I play, even today, I take it as a learning experience. So that has really helped me a lot, and I feel that every musician should be open to accept all these. I would not say challenge, but all these ways for music.
So I found that really interesting about it's true that if you're always in the mindset of this is a learning experience, this is a trajectory and never finality, that help us as musicians to get exposed to more project, to be less shy about also exploring new project. And he looks like you interested about many different setup and projects. Up
Definitely.
next, then we have Rhythmus, I think, picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really cool picture. Actually, it's a percussion ensemble in Rimouski that we started writing this like 20 years ago, I would say 20, yeah, something like this. And Julie Quimper besides me, I'm in the middle somewhere, and Julie Quimper and Alexis Carrier, which is the far right, are the two person with whom we founded the group. So they're always there. And then the students from the conservatoire, from my class, uh, once they are ready, they get into the group, and we do a little project. We haven't played for a while now because the context, but off and on, the group gets up on stage, and we do fun things.
And then we will see you at the drum set, I think,
Okay.
in another
Yeah.
context in which Rimouski is really putting itself on the map with many big musical project. That one being the Festigas.
Yep. The Festi Jazz. I've been playing at the Festi Jazz for quite a while now. Oftentimes on drum set, but oftentimes also on vibraphone. So I do both, and it's just a fun experience to be part of. And I'm teaching drum set at the Cégep de Rimouski also. So um,
And
I
next
I
picture,
set the instrument every day.
and then the next picture, we can see that even in your, I guess, free time,
Yeah,
then
this
it's
was
more time
yeah
to enjoy music with people you love.
yeah. This was a Facebook Live like we do, but with one of my children, who's the bassist in the middle, Theo, and Samuel on guitar, who's the son of my wife. And we did a little family happening, musical, jazzy music on Facebook for. I don't remember. It was for Télé Québec or something like this. It was a series, family music. This was in the first year of COVID.
Yeah, I think I recall other performance actually with isn't it Hugues who did this with his family as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yes, I
There we
recall
go.
that. Maybe from the
Yeah,
Fabrique. I don't know
yeah.
if it was
Fabrique
mixed together
culturelle,
as
Télé
well.
Québec. That
Okay,
was it. That was it.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So those were great initiative, and I like that kind of wow. Okay, family of same family members joining themselves, different generations playing together in such a context in which we were in bubble. We're
Yep.
making it work in this context for sure. And then another of the several projects you're doing, but example here again in the Festi Jazz, which is a great project in this time. It went quite a recent one, I think.
Yeah, it's very recent, and it was huge project for me. Well, not actually just for me, but for all the musicians that you see there. It was actually the lyric suite for sextet by Chick Corea. And if you count well, we're eight. So we've added a drum set and a double bass. And this was with the Quatuor Saint-Germain here in
Hmm.
Rimouski and Amy R. Roussel Trio. So I was the stranger. Actually, I initiated this project and I knew Amy very well, and I knew the Quatuor Saint Germain.
All wonderful musicians. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that we could put this together, and this was a great experience. And hopefully, we'll play it again. We've done it once, but we're
And
working on
you should
playing it again.
tour. Yeah, you
Yeah,
should tour this. Yeah.
yeah, we have projects.
Oh, and
Yeah,
city. Or I
it's in
mean,
the air. It's in the air.
excellent. So we hope you
Yeah.
find your way that finds its way in the universe for this project. But then another project that is coming quite soon will be then about Dinuc's Vigilatna Concerto that you'll be then playing for a second time after having it perform. I mean, I had the chance sharing the stage with you with Orchestre Symphony d'Estuaire on this last spring. Ojas also had some experience doing these kind of mixture of styles, and I've been asking to him, is tabla actually for everyone? Is it people who are interested? Can we have tabla in every kind of music? And he had a little bit of something for us on this topic.
Okay.
It's a beautiful language, and that this should reach out to people, and this music should, of course, reach out to people. And there are some amazing tabla players in Canada and America and everywhere in the world, not just India, but other parts of the world also. They are doing so well, like our very own dear Gabriel Bhai, who's been experimenting tabla with different genres, like, of course, classical, solo tabla, tabla solo repertoire, and then experimenting with symphony, concerto. And then the other day we were also doing some sessions with different genres, which is an Indian semi-classical genre which is called ghazals. So that's a different aspect of playing tabla. So I feel so good to see so much of an interest people are having in learning tablas. So I do encourage them. And one more thing I would like to add here is people, of course, do watch some sessions on YouTube and all. That is all okay, but I would suggest that you find a good guru, a good teacher who is really interested in teaching you a good knowledge, who is really interested in imparting their knowledge with you, because this is very important. A correct music should reach out to you. So keep learning and keep playing. Thank you.
And that's something that comes often when I was watching his answer from the question about the joy of playing. And actually, you had a teacher, right, that had something that stunned you about the fact of that question you mentioned about how many hours should we rehearse.
Oh.
And I mean, that's a small anecdote here that I felt was quite nice on how to learn music. So what did he answer, that teacher, about how many hours?
Oh, well, should I put in, and this is from Bob Becker, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a life, I mean, a life
motto, or
it's a lesson. It's a
lesson.
life lesson, actually, for music, actually. And we were playing tabla, and all of a sudden we took a little break, and someone asked him, because he's really good, and someone asked him, well, when you were our age, how many hours a day were you practicing? Just curious to know that. And he closed his eyes and was quiet for a few seconds, like 20 seconds or something like this. And I found it a little strange. I said, what is he doing? Is he counting his hours? I mean, I don't know. So all of a sudden he opened his eyes and he looked at us and said, I don't remember practicing much. So we're like looking at each other saying, right. And he said, but I've played a lot. And that to me was a revelation.
It is.
I mean, there's a slight difference between the mindset when when you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to practice something, or I'm going to play something. Even it's a little bit, but you're playing it. You're not practicing it. It's not the same attention. So I
And we
think,
learn way faster by playing anyway, right?
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
just having that in mind.
you're practicing playing.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
anyway, that was my small parenthesis there because I found that
yeah.
anecdote quite
Mhm.
yeah, quite important for any musician. But then going back to the concerto that you'll be playing next week,
Yeah.
what were your first impression listening to this piece, and what got enough of your attention so you could spend all those hours playing, learning it? Let's say.
Oh my God, that's good. Well, Dinok's piece is a masterpiece. It was like a revelation to me. You have sent me the recording of that. I didn't know of his work, and I've listened to the first movement. There are two movements. Listened to the first movement, and I wrote you back right after. I had chilled, and I told you that I'm. I just listened to the first movement. I'm blown away. It's just an amazing music. It touches me, and I'm gonna stop there for tonight. I'm gonna stay on the first movement. Tomorrow, I'll listen to the rest. And I don't remember the dream I had that night, but I'm sure I dreamed of it. And next day, I've listened to the second movement, third movement, and each and every one is just, I mean, it's just very, very, very well written. And it suits the tabla. It respects the instrument too, as he did not deform the instrument. Sometimes, music tends to explore different techniques and stuff, and I have not there is nothing wrong with that. But this is not it. It's really classical in a very elegant way, but he takes his chances, like the first movement, he mixes with like drum and bass. There is a drum set in the first movement,
Mhm.
and it's quite interesting, to step, to get this, to that, and it's a 15 beat cycle. So there's a little edgy thing there. It's really groovy. And the end of the first movement, whoa, this is great. People will love it. I'm not saying anything. It's a surprise, but there is surprise. And uh, so I was blown away. And the second movement is like a folk song. It's a love song, actually. And the tabla served as accompaniment. It's in Dipchandi, which is a 14 beat cycle. Um, and, the orchestra the instrumentists have little solos here and there, beautiful solos. And
Trumpet,
the
clarinet.
orchestration, yeah,
Mhm.
trumpet, clarinet, oboe,
Mhm.
violin, and it's a flute, bassoon, and the accompaniment is very moving. It's really beautiful. It's slow, it's a great movement. And the third one is it's actually the end of a tabla solo. The tabla player would recite a composition and then play it. And these are fixed compositions, given by their guru. So some are very, very old. And he kept this idea for the third movement. So there's a little composition accompanied by a melody that keeps the cycle of that moment. And in between compositions, there is a little transition, and then another composition with another melody, and then a transition, and it's sort of like a picture at an exhibition by Mussorgsky. You know what? And there's a little tableau there, and it's very short. And there's a little walk, and then another one. So this is basically the third movement, and it's really beautiful.
And we have a few pictures just to give an idea of how it will look like, let's say, since we have pictures from our performance in Rimouski. You sitting on stage on the left, having a mic as well, so we can hear when you're going to say, when you're going to speak, saying the sound as well. So we have these different pictures where we have a close-up, I think, from Gabriel as well. Yeah. Oh, we can see how much you're into the music.
Well, sometimes you take a picture and your face is weird. I'm not like this all the time, Don't worry if you find it's weird.
And just for me, the memorization of such content was also something I found super impressive for contemporary work to learn that way. Yes. And then another picture I think we have. Of course, just the thrill of having all friends, colleagues behind you, I mean, was something special, of course, for us to experience. And having you usually at the back of the orchestra, and then suddenly thrown out at the very front was something that I found was interesting for our audience to witness in a different way. So anyways, I just have good memories from this experience, and that's why I was so thrilled to have the opportunity to experience it now with my Kamloops family, so that you could meet. Obviously, then with Bradley, you will have that chance next week, and the audience will have hopefully a really good experience. I mean, for me, Dinook's music is one of the most talented composer of its generation. Like, I won't be shy about words on this. I feel he has this unique way of writing, and his music is beautiful and not complex in a bad way, because it's so well written that actually everything falls together. So I hope people will have a pleasant evening discovering this piece with, of course, then the Beethoven as well, and also a really great piece by Camille Pépin, a French composer who is also, I think, one of the most talented composers of its generation, Avant les clartés de l'aurore, which will be premiere. I think it will be the Canadian premiere in this case, in Kamloops, which has also percussion that you'll be able to hear, Gabriel. So before we end this chat, we had the final video with Ojas, because he's been also doing some fusion project, one that you've been sharing with me, the Tabla Symphony, that people will find. Actually, we've been sharing it in our social media today. This is another kind of project in which we can see the combination having a really successful and interesting mood into symphonic world and tabla. So then let's hear a little bit of Ojas for this final video.
I release my dream project, Tabla Symphony, which is available on all the streaming platforms now, and I would like to encourage all of you to do hear this track and shower your love and blessings on me and, of course, my fellow musicians. The focus here in Tabla Symphony was to have tabla as a mainstream element here, and I have used a traditional tabla solo repertoire which blends with Western classical arrangement, which is with Chennai Strings Orchestra. And I got to know that our very own dear Gabriel Bhai has been collaborating with KSO for the Tabla Concerto, which is composed by Mr. Dinook. I convey my best wishes and congratulations to each and everybody, and it feels so good that tabla, which is such a beautiful instrument, is being taken to a different level, and the collaboration, such collaborations with symphony orchestra, with tabla, creates magic, and it feels so good that people are loving this kind of combination. So all my best wishes and congratulations once again, and I would also like to thank each one of you, Miss Dina KSO and Gabriel Bhai for inviting me here. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes. So
Great.
I mean, thanks to you, we've been able to have those privileged moments with Ajas as well. People will get to see you next week on stage with our musicians. Thank you so much, Gabriel. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you, learning more about tabla, learning more about all your fabulous background. Yeah.
Thanks to you. I'm really looking forward to meet all the musicians from KSO, Maestro Tachuk, and the public, and it'll be just exciting.
Yes. And thank you, of course, Ryan, Daniel, who've been also part of this KSO Front Row. Ryan, who's also always managing all the media into this. So thank you very much, Ryan, for your help on this. And for everyone, we are hoping that you're going to be there this upcoming weekend for our Foris Requiem concert. And of course, then for our final finale season with Beethoven and Tabla on Saturday, April 23rd. So a lot of concert in the next few days, and we hope to see you healthy in our venue really soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gabriel. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.